William Killackey was in Limerick prison without a spliff he could twirl in his clattering fingers in a Mulgrave Street cell near the music school center. The guards were called in and his guitar tore from him. They locked him in custody at Henry Street Station for singing conspiracy songs he was taken. And you who philosophize disgrace and criticize all fear, take the dupe away from your face, for now is the time to smoke here. They put William Killackey in solitary confinement. They took away his tobacco pouch, his well-traveled grinder, with no one to go to, no one to rely on, and no one he cared for. In the politics of Limerick, he reacted to the deeds by going spastic, hurling all manner of insult at every masked phony in a matter of minutes. He was locked up in quarantine without a whiff of a spliff or a hope of a toad. Take a man from his bong and his truly forsaken. And you who philosophize this words and criticize our fear, take the dupe away from your face, for now ain't the time to smoke here. Strong winds that blow lonely, seven seas that run high, all those things that won't change, come what may. But the good times are all gone, and we're bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. For strong winds that blow lonely, seven seas that run high, all those things that won't change, come what may. But the good times are all gone, and I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. Or if I get there before the snow flies and the things are looking good, if you want, I can send you back to the fair. But by then it will be winter. There ain't much for us to do, and those winds sure blow cold way out there. Four strong winds that blow lonely, seven seas that run high, all those things that won't change, come what may. But the good times are all gone, and I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. Four strong winds that blow lonely, seven seas that run high, all those things that won't change, come what may. But the good times are all gone, and I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I'm ever back this way. Yes, I will look for you if I'm ever back this way. Four strong winds. Wide, wide, sleeping good. Help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films. Help me get where I belong. You're crazy, stop sending letters when letters always get burned. It's not like the movies they fed us on little white lies. I think you're crazy, maybe. I Greetings, friends. Hello, how are you doing? I have to remember to speak up a little bit. I have the volume set up to 72, so I hope the songs came through okay. And well, I'm down to 5 strings, but not. I got the tuning key fixed on the first one, which was €7. I'm not sure if I mentioned that the last time, but yeah, little peg is down in the center here, but I think I can sort of mend that tomorrow. So yeah, anyone with a keen ear will know I'm useless at guitar, but I'm not useless, but pretty basic. But you'll also notice the central G key missing, which or the G string missing, which is perhaps significant. Who knows? I was only asking myself earlier on. Well, certainly not always. Well, it's pretty prominent always. What does the G represent? It's so prominent, but that's a different matter. Let me say hello. I'm sweating bricks here. Let me just sweat bricks. I might say sweat bricks. First of all, actually, it's a good. Not everything for a reason. Why does that expression have sort of validity or sort of longevity or sort of meaning? Well, it's very interesting. When you're driving along the road and you're looking ahead of you and you see these sort of mirroring zones, well, where do you place them? Do you place them in the air or do you place them along the ground? Sweating bricks. Concrete absorbs water. Water is in everything. Your tarmac is filled with water. So the heavier the sun, the more intense the sun, the more intense the sort of evaporation. From the deeper and deeper levels, it dries it out and melts it. So you think of something like a cucumber. What does that cucumber is 99% water, something 90% water? As ourselves, we're said to be 70% water. So yeah, so that's very interesting. And one to consider, and I certainly have considered it. Have you considered it? Have you considered it? When we think about well, the greater reason, this is a flat earth show fundamentally. That's the reason why I set up the channel, and well, beyond. So beyond, when it comes to understanding that the earth is not a spinning ball as presented, that's basic stuff. That's, that's sort of bread and butter 101 stuff. So what lies beyond that then? Well, it's about us trying to explain what's going on, the everyday phenomena we experience, and sort of putting it all in some sort of coherent mix for yourself and for yourself alone, trying to come to terms with that. Now, when we enter this arena, a different mindset has to, evolve, I should think, yeah, and understand that, well, where I'm at now, the truth is always known. So any discovery I make, which goes against the whole body of science now and then, well, that's, yeah, it's nothing new. It's something that's already known, and all the clues are put in place for us to come to terms. What, do you think the whole of history is stupid? Okay, once you take it that the earth moves, well, then you have to extend it to its full fruition and say that the earth is not just moving at a certain degree, it's moving at this degree, which is what, 6 billion miles an hour. Ultimately is one of the latest figures, with the earth spinning around itself, and then the earth spinning around the sun spinning around the spiral arm, the spiral arm spinning around the centric galaxy spinning around, 6 million. So that's where it takes you anyway, and beyond probably. So yeah, what do you think? The giant brains of history, whatever that entails, his story, they couldn't entertain the alternative. Where are Einstein's letters talking about the possibility that the earth is flat? He said everything is relative, can never be proven either way. So yeah, we've seen the way you went, we've seen, yeah, assuming that the earth we're standing on is moving, because something is moving. We've seen the way that went. Everything is relative, but you said yourself it can never be proven. So let's see your theorizing. Let's see your synopsis for a non-moving earth. You can't, like the rest of the Baller Borg, they can't go there. They can't give you 1 inch. They can't even have you to begin with your fellow man on the surface of this earth, pointing vertically, all pointing in the same direction. They can't imagine it. They can't imagine it because they must have the ground moving. You see, there's 2 choices. The sky moves or the ground moves. And you assume the ground moves down while you're led to where you think you are now, which is what? You're trusting the great brains. You are a great brain. Come on. You are a great brain. The greatest of brains can tie their shoelaces in some ways. What are they, geniuses? Grand, you can be a genius in that. I can learn to a sufficient level, whatever you're talking about there, and I'll be happy with that. But I'll be able to tie my shoelaces, or I'll be able to, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but in fairness, Stephen Hawkins had an affair. How the fuck do you do that? Honest to God. He had an affair? He can't even move what can he move? He can't do anything. Can you imagine the pillow talk? Not even that, whatever that means, I don't even know that. I'm not taking the piss out of a disabled man. I'm disabled myself. But, yeah, as the script goes, he had an affair. How do you do that? I mean, what do you I guess you can understand sort of intellectual, what do you call it, level, but for goodness sake. Anyway, I told you many times, I imagine Stephen Hawkins just hopping up the method actor, wherever he is. We probably know him as well, just hopping up out of the wheelchair and effing off in his Jeep back home. That's another take down back home to his ranch and fucking his blonde wife. You can easily imagine it. And movies like, here in Ireland, My Left Foot, right, with Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, where does the fantasy end, the fact begin? And fact is stranger than fantasy. No matter what you can think up in your brain, reality is stranger. We're sort of coming to terms with that. But when it comes to, these basic considerations, flat Earth is a basic flat and stationary Earth is a basic consideration, which you should all have with any level of serious consideration arrived at by now. And beyond that, then come to realize that there's no great shakes in coming to realize this. Therefore, the players in the past must have been, I guess, playing a different role than what you up to now took for granted. So once again, the best advice: have no heroes. Trust yourself. Your brain can do anything. Let anyone do what they want and say what they want. But trust yourself. If it doesn't make sense to you, well then, you can discard it or at least put it aside for later consideration. This trust or this hero worship generation, it's foisted upon us. Look at all of the what do you call it, movies, the superhero movies. How can you ever live up to them? You can live up to all of them is the key. I guess you have to come up via a certain pathway, but at the start, think nothing of yourself, only think ultimately everything of yourself. Everything. You should think everything of yourself, no matter who or what your circumstances. You're a miracle of creation. Every one of us are. Every one of us are, and it doesn't take away from our individuality. And that sort of latent superherodom is inside all of us. Your own hero. Figure out what you need to figure out. You can do as well as anyone else. Put your mind to anything. I'm not. If I say I'm bitter, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter because I was bitter, but I'm not bitter. Understanding that all of these key figures in history are, for the most part, actors playing their part. It's all storytelling. And that the truth is known from the very start, whatever this experience we're having is. I accept myself that it is, I have no problem at least accepting that it is 423 years old this year. I have no problem. Everything can just be, brought into existence by whatever greater power there is. So I have no problem accepting that. And indeed, I have accepted it into my heart is showing here. It's fucking roasting. Excuse me, it's roasting. I can't handle it at all, really too well. So my shirt, you should be glad I'm not naked here. Well, some of you shouldn't, anyway. But yeah, that's a different matter. So that's the basic sort of consideration when you come in here, or at least what who comes in here or not. I'll go into chat in a few minutes, but you know the story for the most part anyway. We've been doing this shit for years. Why I come along here and do that? Let me say that I'll talk about the songs in a second. Just to speak openly, I'm at the end of the StreamYard this month, and it's not that I don't have anything in particular to talk about. I could talk about so much in a special way, but I don't know if there's any point in that. I'm just sort of running out of time tonight, and yeah, when it finishes, and where it goes. So yeah, with the music, the first song, don't get me started on that. That's a brilliant song, and the first verse of that song is yeah, by another hand, another mind. But I thought I'd sing it only because it's a sort of a reflection on, or it's building to be a reflection on a true story with a sort of a central theme incorporated into it. But I was just sort of putting out the you know, the feel of it, the vibe of it. So I hope it came across okay. I was a bit sluggish on the words. That's okay. I was just getting the idea across, and also the harmonica. Yeah, I need to get myself some money because it's missing the central C, the middle C key. So that's a C and a G. C from the harmonica, G from the guitar is missing. Yeah, the second song I think Four Strong Winds, very interesting song as well. And the third song, that's by Neil Young. I don't think he wrote it as well, but the third song then, Radiohead, motion picture soundtrack, probably the most significant song of all time. Would you would you believe? Would you believe? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't believe because you have no reason to believe it. You have no context to believe it. I'm up there believing that. And that's only because of how significant 9/11 was back then and now for all of us and its greater symbolic sense. What's this guy talking about? What's another bold matter talking about? Well, yeah, we need to go over it again. Yeah, 9/11 was the greatest blockbuster of our age. However far back our age goes, how long our history sort of trails back to, you decide. But of our age, of our lifetime, it was the greatest blockbuster, and in a literal sense, it was a movie presented to all of us, and a narrative was transmitted, and we all followed along for a certain while. Not all, of course. The people involved and those sort of clued up at early stages would have seen through it. But ultimately, here we are, coming up on 20 years later. Yeah, it's still a taboo topic to talk about 9/11 being a media and a victim symbolic hoax. But once you get beyond that, then, well, what do you ask yourself? You're given a few options. Did they film stuff on the day and just insert things on the go to present? Well, no, they didn't. They pre-prepared the movie. And I have a few anecdotal stories to tell, which told me myself that what I'm saying is, I know it's true. They pre-prepared the whole of the movie, and they presented it to the world as live. They took over the airwaves, and yeah, we all bought it. And when the time came that we learned not to buy it so easily, of course, we were given the internet. We were given the ability to look into things. We were said and led by a bull nose ring. By the way, my nose. So yeah, it's because I'm sitting askew on the bed that my nose looks askew. I told you last time, Eberhard told me I had a perfect nose. This is a great compliment. I knew I didn't get it wrong when I was looking in the mirror because I could sort of bend it this way and that when I fell out of the bed after drinking too much cider, which I very rarely do. Not fall out of the bed, but drink too much cider. But yeah, I fell out of the bed and crashed it. And yeah, it was okay then. You might notice what do you call it, over my eyebrow here. A bit of a cut there, so I sort of snapped to with the blood dripping on the ground, but no big deal, just a minor thing. But yeah, happy to hear that. A perfect nose, that's not not everybody. Yeah, as I have to say about themselves, or that someone has to say about them anyway. But yeah, regarding the motion picture soundtracks. So understanding that, getting to these different levels, right? Understanding that, well then every blockbuster, and 9/11 was a 102-minute movie presented. Well, every blockbuster has a soundtrack. So the soundtrack to this greatest epic, greatest blockbuster of our time, so symbolic in nature ultimately, was none other than Kid A from Radiohead, who were a band from Oxford. We have Thom Yorke and the Greenwood Brothers, and there's a couple of others as well. All significant, every member significant, but yeah, their album Kid A released in October 2000, and it was ultimately the soundtrack for the greatest, blockbuster in a great sense as well, because we all bought the tickets, right? We all bought it. Greatest movie of the time. Everyone, hook, line, and sinker, sucked in. Convinced ultimately. So yeah, what's the song? I should go through it. It's another one of those things I should just bring it up. I should go through the 42 things you didn't know about Thom Yorke. But anyway, if this individual was chosen to lead this particular band in the production of this soundtrack for this, the greatest movie of our generation, of our times, well, there's significance in everything. And if everything is scripted, well, then it's down to us to, look to, to picking apart the script, understanding once again that there's nothing new under ARI-STAR-CHUS. We're just recovering, remembering. And how do we remember? Well, we remember by reading the clues, right? By following the trails, following the indicators, and there's indicators everywhere. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll just say as well, there's an omitted verse. So significant is all that is, right? Just take it with a pinch of salt for the minute, but significant is all that is. Then the omitted verse has got to be of a special significance. And indeed, I think it is, and it's most telling. It's beautiful angel speaking to you, torn apart, pulled apart at birth, limbless and helpless. I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. I will see you in the next life. That's the parting sentiment. Now make what you will of it. Think what you will of it. You will do that anyway, right? Who am I talking to here for the most part? And well, I'll tell you who I'm talking to. Millennium Falcon, 2001, Santa Wars Clues. That's Mum, isn't it? That's Millennium. I mean, Jesus, you're still around, man. And I know we had a falling out in the past. What do you reckon? Yeah, I mean, oh, Salty Siren. How you doing, Salty Siren? Anyone's welcome. Listen, anyone wants to chat, let me know. Again, this hangout is just, hang on one sec. I have about a half an hour left on the 20-hour monthly StreamYard, allowance. So it's just using it up, and also just playing a few songs. So I have nothing in particular to say. So feel free to join in if you fancy a chat, or if you want to talk about anything, if you want to sort of prompt me to talk about anything in particular in the chat, let me know. But yeah, greetings, Salty Siren. I don't think I've seen you here before, and I was going to bring up as a point of conversation just Tim's Discord, where of course you're a member of, and why, how significant is that? I mean, if you're in the midst of this environment, you've got to get beyond the literal and see towards a greater picture, or greater telling, a story that's been told. And well, no better place than Tim's Discord, or even Infinite Plane Society's channel on YouTube. He has so many channels, and he has so many videos taken down. It's no sooner one is up and it's down again. Is that purposeful? Who knows? I mean, I've been looking for a few videos, and they're gone. There's so much that's gone. Patricia Steer vanished from the scene. Look at all the fucking excellent videos that she did. Outside of any controversy or any individual's feeling about things, that there's some excellent information exchange, excellent interviews and videos, and sort of offerings throughout the years, but all vanished now. I'm not sure if they're all vanished. I guess if the Wayback Machine is there, you can still bring them up, but they're not easy access anyway. So that's a crying shame in itself. But I think that's sort of part of it as well. If you've been paying attention, you've been following the clues somewhat, and if you haven't, well, then maybe the clues are elsewhere to be found for you. I think the truth has to be available to all of us, and well, where your path takes you. Well, I'm here talking to myself. I'm actually looking at myself in the what do you call it? On the screen as well, the StreamYard screen. So that's a little bit unnatural. And it's probably more unnatural that I fancy myself. I have a nice nose, don't I? I'm kidding. I don't fancy myself. Actually, I love myself. But if I did fancy myself, what the fuck would I do anyway? Um, go on Tinder. I go on Tinder. I truly find the true love there. Anyway, yeah. So Millennium, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in ages, and all of the old crowd aren't around. Well, a lot of them are, but not in the same form. What happened to Pancho Pete? What happened to all of the? What happened to Isa Mahalski? Do you remember all those catexes? They have to be there in some form or another, right? They have to be. They have to be in it and to win it, in it to the end. I don't think you take on a role like that just as a partial thing. I'll do it for a few years. No, I think you're let known at the start that, well, it's going to all resolve by this certain time, and that's what it's leading up to. I think that's how so many people can get involved and sort of cooperate and sort of engage in seemingly anti-human activities and behaviors. I don't know. I don't know for sure though, but I do know that on YouTube here and on Discord as well over the years, I'm talking about over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been pretty active for the most part, fighting the good fight. Yeah, you know, I also understood early doors how you're dealing with people here who are put in place to sort of carry an argument, come hell or high water, to stick to their guns. And not only that, as an individual, they're doing it cooperatively. Again, once this is a process that you go through, you come out the other side understanding that, well, maybe they're here for your good. Maybe they're here to sort of spur you on, and to encourage you to come to greater terms with maybe the potential nature of your reality, internal and external. And that's the way I prefer to look at it at this stage, and even at that stage, early doors. But as part of a personal, there wasn't a challenge. I don't pit myself up against anybody. If there's a challenge personally, bring a challenge to me, or I'll challenge somebody. But let's have the terms. I'm not going to fight or challenge a kickboxer to a fight immediately. Although I said I would fight a kickboxer, one of these baller antagonists. I said I'll go over to Amsterdam and fight you, man. You're a little prick. So in chat and whatever. These are all tough talkers. But this guy happened to have a fucking kickboxing gym in Holland, and he was giving me the address and everything. I said I'll fucking go over and fight you. I will, man. Since you're experienced, since you're fit, since you have this impetus to fight me, give me an ample amount of time to prepare, and I'll fight you. Even if you beat me, that'll be okay. I'll still fight you. But yeah, I'll do that. But this is where this facility given us, the internet, which is pretty much only 20-25 years old when you think about it. 20, even 15 years when you think about when it kicked off into some sort of form that we recognize today. So that's not long at all. I mean, I was on the internet when I was in university in 1990, 94. I don't even remember. I don't remember when it sort of came into being, if you want. I think I do. And it must have been about 1992 or something like that, 1993. So I remember us all going into a room and going, wow, man, you can do this and do that. But anyway, yeah, it's only relatively recent. So these libraries and this access to information beyond our wildest dreams is relatively recent delivery. Is it scripted that way? Of course it is. So what we make of all this information at our fingertips, well, that's down to you, the individual. Are the people in play playing their parts? Of course there are. So yeah, as an individual challenge, you have to go through that process. You have to challenge the best they have to offer, because they are all supporting a lie. I'm out for the truth. I was always out for the truth. I was always out for the truth. So I have nothing to hide. If I'm wrong, I'll easily say I'm wrong. None of these people can. None of these people will ever admit to any. None of them can ever even say, "I've considered the earth just as we experience it, just not to move." They can't do it, because when they do that, then they have to go, well, okay, I have to reconsider what's going on in the sky, as opposed to terra firma, or just the material universe or material skylines. It could be something else indeed, and of course they are something else indeed. Ultimately, they are reflections, and ultimately, all of the skylights are reflections of one thing, which is, well, ARI-STAR-CHUS. ARI-STAR-CHUS. Yeah, Bell Earth is my latest thinking, but I think everything interconnects. Everything you sort of talk about, I might speak in a roundabout sense, but I already have what's going on at the core in my own brain. Right? How do you prove it to anyone? It's not proving anything to anybody. You sort of come to entertain the thought or notion and apply it to what your new thinking process, coming away from what officialdom, coming away from blind trust. And the corona has done a great job of encouraging each and everyone to come away from blind trust in authority. And if it hasn't, you need to shake yourself a little bit more. If you've taken an injection, don't worry about it, is what I say. You did it of free will. There was no, what do you call it? Yeah, there was no wrongdoing on your part, but you still gave away your consent. I don't. I don't. I'm perfectly fine. I was perfectly fine now, but I've never been healthier in the sense. Uh, I don't need an injection of something that to protect me against something that wasn't a threat to me in the first place. But that's my own choice. I would encourage everyone to think along the same lines. It's only sane. It's only sanity. Isn't it? But anyway, that's a different matter. But I do think that the corona itself will open more eyes, and that's the way it was designed is to open more eyes, because the absurdity of it all is being more and more made prevalent. What do you think? What do you think? Waiting for you to wake up to it. That's what I say. Otherwise, do what you want with your body. Can I say to you, do what you want? Go home and stick a hose up your arse tonight. What am I going to say? I advise you not to do it. Or if you do, it's maybe thin holes or something. I don't know. That's my best thoughts on that. But otherwise, what am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do, actually. Let me say, Millennium. I'm watching the reality overlap with classic films. What does that say? Yeah, what's wrong with your writing, Millennium? What's going on with you? And seeing there's a metric being used. I can't. My eyesight is bad as well. It's not bad. Limericks. I thought that was limericks. Metrics. So decimetrics. Decimetrics. Maybe you're playing. Maybe you're playing a word somewhere there. Let me show you a video. Just while I go up to the front and. Hang on, let me just. Actually, you gotta watch what you're. See, I don't want to put on anything that's going to take 10 or 15 minutes as well. So many links here that I have to get through as well. Not that I have to get through, but you should just X out of them. I should just shut down. I should just shut down. That's when close actually shut down the computer. What's the point anymore? There's no point. I think at this point, you know everything you need to know to piece things together. I really do think that more and more. Um, what's the point beyond that? What's the point beyond that? Okay, let me. I'm definitely going for a cigarette, so I'm just trying to find something to. I know what I'm doing because I was considering it tonight, and I let you consider it. I know there's only one or two people here most of the time, so don't be worrying about that. Just take it easy. I'm going to let you consider this image. I'll put it on full screen, and I think it's more significant now than ever. And it's an image of Odin. Do you remember I showed it the last time? I had another little look at it. Remember I was talking about the ravens on each shoulder. Uh, why is a raven like a writing desk? Both have the last word. So here we find the raven on each of Odin's shoulders. One on the left, one on the right. One is animated, one is more in stillness. Odin is missing his right eye, which is connected to the sun. So yeah, I haven't. Remember, I said the last time that I considered sort of. So I have one image this way, rotated 180 degrees, have the back connected here, and then the mirrored aspects together, four aspects together. And I bet you the design on his top would reveal some sort of pattern or some sort of secret. So I've still to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to just put it up on screen for you to consider while I'm having a smoke. As I said, don't have too many high expectations for tonight. I'm just running out of time more than anything else. And these days, well, don't have too many high expectations for anything I present, I should think. Let me just find that now. There we go. Okay, just ponder this. When I go for a smoke at the front. I'm going to close the window. It's fucking roasting. It's roasting, honestly, God. It's been roasting all day long. And I can barely breathe at night as well. Um, but it's okay. Here we go. So you see what I mean? So imagine sort of mirroring that on both axes and just combining them all. I think you would get a pattern that would reveal itself. And do you notice the big sword? You might call that a sword. That's an erection. That's an erection. Don't fool yourself. That's God's erection. Imagine that. God's erection. Well, don't be imagining it. Dirty mind. But hang on. God created us with the dirty mind, right? Anyway. Yeah, what do you make of that? What do you make of that? And it's his right eye particularly. I have thoughts to express on that. And in a sense, it's not that Odin is missing an eye. He has an extra eye. He has what he needs. One side deals with one aspect of our reality, and the other then. Right. Okay. there's an ambulance outside. Not outside our door, but outside, just around the corner. And there's a group of young people outside as well, outside the door, across the road, doing what they do. So I wonder what's going on there. I'm not too curious. I don't think there's any emergency, but I hope everyone's well. Well, what do you make of this image? Excellent, right? So actually, now to look at it more, well, Odin is connected, not through his eye, but closer to his mouth, isn't it? To the sun. The left eye, you notice the Joker's hat. The left eye, I think, is always required to oversee the sort of the material world. And I think this is ultimately what the left side, the left path, sort of deals with. And then we have this greater connection to the the righteous side. ARI-STAR-CHUS is ARI-CHUS star, which is ARI-CHUS is CHUS or CHUS, ARI-CHUS star. Ultimately connecting to what I say the tree of life. The sun is an emanation or a reflection of the divided or felled tree of life. This is what we remember at Christmas time with the cut tree. We reconnected, and everything lights up in a spiraling fashion to produce a massive star at the top. If all stars are one star, yeah, I'm just looking at this now. It's interesting that it's connected. Yeah, I've chosen to connect. I was looking, there's a smile on the left-hand side. It's very interesting, isn't it? But I'll tell you something for nothing. That sword is definitely his dick. I don't care what anyone says. And in a way, it sort of affects what I think is going on at the center. So imagine a tree on both sides with a massive sort of common ground in the center. So the tree is cut this side. So the root from the other side sticks through this side. And at the center of the stump, we have a massive hollow or a crater. And it's the movement of this root from the other side, the magical side, if you want, that is giving us all of our existence, in a sense, sustaining all of our existence. And it produces the barrier, it gives us all the skylights, it gives us the ether, it gives us everything. And in a sense, there, yeah, as you can see, God's penis is prominent, the obelisk. And has something been cut? Yes, it has. Something has been sundered, and this is what we are under. But what do you reckon yourself? What do you reckon yourself? Something to ponder. So that's a little bit of rhyming there. So yeah, Hugin on the right shoulder, and I knew that was, and then Moonin on the left shoulder, who's a more quiet sort of dodo type, as I mentioned the last time. But anyway, yeah, I'm just looking at the patterns, and you can tell that there's something to be unraveled there, can't you? The reason I mentioned fourfold, well, four angels hold up the four corners. We have north, south, east, and west, as a fourfold division as well between us, as male from female and self from self, in this spiraling fashion down the spine. So anyhow, let me stop sharing. Yeah. Okay, Millennium. What's the story, man? How are you doing anyway? Where's Pancho Pete these days? Well, yeah. Where are all the old characters gone? I reckon they're all thereabouts behind the scene, doing what they do. No, are you trying to fuck up my eyes? It said I'm going to listen. Ape, plant, ape. Yeah, okay. My eyes aren't fucked. I know you're playing with words here, but well, do what you do. No, all right. You're relaxing. Well, that's good. I'm not going to keep this on for too much longer anyway. I just wanted to use up the time because we're coming close. Today's the 19th, so the 20th renews to, what do you call it, 20 hours again. 20th tomorrow, so let me talk briefly about 20th tomorrow is the day that man landed on the moon. Everything connects here. So we're looking at Odin there and the sun connected to his right side. So this is the greater spiritual access, I think. Access. So this is the side. But when you think about a woman's brain and a male's brain, if we're torn from one, if we're pulled apart from one, and here's the key consideration, at least for me, a relatively recent origin. I'm 49 years of age now, right? But I'm saying that our existence as we know it as humankind goes back only 423 years, which is 1598 to when the dodo bird was discovered. That's a mad consideration. Now, you don't have to go there. What do you require? Proof? There's no proof. There's no proof for anything. No proof for anything in a sense, but then maybe there's sort of proof for everything. If you understand that the truth is known and the best you can do is to read what is written, if you care to do that. If you don't, so be it. That's what makes you you. But if you do, well, these are different considerations, and I guess needs must. You sort of go a long way along that path alone. You have to. You have to. How are you going to share it with anybody? Unless you find somebody special, and well, there are special people everywhere. It's just meeting them that's a problem. Anyway, yeah. So coming beyond certain points, understanding that the moon is a reflection of the sun. I see that more than ever as I look at the moon outside the window. I can't open the window now, as I'm showing you as well. You know what a half moon looks like. But it's got to do with this reflective barrier. If it's waters beyond, and it is waters beyond, saline waters beyond, but it's all a construct anyway. But it's saline waters beyond. When the tree was cut, we had a collapse of the barrier, the fallen state, a bite from the apple. And here's where I think it divided into two barriers, an inner barrier and an outer barrier. Maybe the inner barrier sort of encompasses the greater outer barrier as well, which gives us multiple reflections, the black sun and Nibiru and all that sort of stuff. They're all just reflections, ultimately. But the outer barrier we're under definitely begins low at north and contours highest at the equatorial areas in a sort of oval, elliptical fashion, like a collapsed bubble, right? Bubble top, anyway. And then low at the southern peripherals as well. So everything is emanating from the north center and just doing its thing, and then everything else reflects that. That's the best way I can reckon it. And once again, the clues are left for us to follow. Bell Earth is a recent thing, but I'm okay with that. Yeah. Everything is inundated. How do the tides happen? Well, because we have this movement at the center. This is where God's penis is sticking through. It's the root. It's the root of all. What is it? Jesus in Revelations 22. I'm the root of the morning star. I'm the root of it. Mountains have roots as well. Mount Meru. What are you going to do? I think in a greater symbolic sense, this represents the penis coming through from the other side into the crater, which is the vagina, which symbolizes, well, or bringing into this material existence. But other than that, what are you going to say? But understanding the moon is a reflection of the sun, I think that's very important. And it's all about the contour of the barrier. When we look at the moon, then our nearest neighbor, considering all craters are one crater possibility because it's not solid, the moon, it's a reflection of solidity. So what type of reflection is it, or might it be? I've long since came to the conclusion that it's a kaleidoscopic reflection of one crater, and that is, well, ARI-STAR-CHUS. But tomorrow, I guess, 52 years ago, man landed on the moon. So it took off from Earth with and I was actually singing a song today, A Space Odyssey by David Bowie. I'd already considered that David Jones represented the sperm. the penis, or more particularly, the rocket is the penis, but more particularly what was in the penis, which is the sperm ultimately. Right? I'd already considered that, and then I was sort of singing the song out loud, full blast in Limerick here, and the first lines told me immediately I was right. I was right. Now, David Jones, David Bowie, he faked his death, right? That's clear as day. But yeah, it's not about what parting. His death story is ridiculous. Once you look beyond the official headlines, it's ridiculous, and you're always meant to just sort of see through the ridiculousness of it. But getting to, yeah, deeper connections, which is David Bowie's connection with Stanley Kubrick, the A Space Odyssey, A Space Oddity, A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick then with his connection to ultimately uh, 9/11. That was my thinking. Tim Osmond talks about uh, his direction in JFK and many other possible offerings in terms of, well, symbolic fakery. I'm pretty not very au fait with many esoteric terms. I like to keep things simple, but yeah, he's definitely associated with um, a greater scripting of our reality in our time anyway, and there's no doubt about that. Were we always meant to figure out to make our way along a certain pathway? Yes, we were. I think it was made actually how when you think about it now. Now that I do think about it, is what is it? Something happened on the way to the moon. You have Stanley Kubrick's wife talking about how the moon landing was fake. I'm not sure if she mentions overtly that her husband was involved in the faking of it, but she was definitely a big part in the documentary itself. Uh, I have to cast my mind back now, and I'm not inclined to, but it was sort of handed to us on the plate. It's like we're given a new medium here, and you know, what do we make of what's presented to us? We don't have to accept anything. So I guess there's many different layers. The onion has many different layers, and how deep you want to go. Do you want to get to the heart of matters? I think if you do, well, you can. And that's not because anyone else is allowing you. I think this is what we take on when we enter here, and especially around these times. Um, but anyway, Millennium, I'm glad you're relaxing, bud. Other than that, what can you say? But yeah, this was very interesting actually. I mean, I could talk about this even from memory. Right. So Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins took off from Earth in the rocket, which is the penis, went up to coincide or to intersects with the mother moon. Right. So it's fundamentally the three little spermies making their way um, to connect with the ovum, and well, they departed on the 16th. Uh, they arrived on the 20th and they left on the 24th. So a nice little four division there. Well, what does it ultimately represent? Well, here's where I'm getting at. According to the script, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin had a very interesting conversation about crater ARI-STAR-CHUS as they were orbiting the moon, and how it was sort of glowing and what did they call it? Lunar surface anomaly, something like that. How it was full of them. And ARI-STAR-CHUS is particularly famous for these inexplicable, according to modern science, inexplicable lunar surface anomalies. But that it was mentioned on this most significant of journeys, and knowing obviously that you can't fucking land on the moon. The moon is a reflection. You can't land on it. But knowing all this, it was written into that script specifically. So why so? Well, that's a different matter. And there's lots of things to know. Neil Armstrong in reverse is go north, G north, Mr. Alien. So a pointer towards the north. Um, Buzz Aldrin and crew. I guess maybe it wasn't the same crew, but yeah, they were known to have given or donated some supposed moon rock to an Amsterdam university, which was later found out to be, I thought it was petrified wood, which is wood just, over many years, it just sort of decays into a prime core form. But yeah, I heard someone saying, maybe it was Tim as well, saying that it was elephant dung. That'd be even fucking funnier. But my reference, or what at least I take from that, the story was presented to us. So obviously, if NASA were going to be involved in some sort of fakery like that, they would be much more clean about it, much more efficient. So this is all storytelling for us to put pieces together. But petrified wood from the moon, for me, we live on the divided tree of life, right? And when it's cut, we have a core emanation from the other side, which gives us all of these skylights. Ultimately, the sun is a reflection, the moon is a reflection of the sun. So petrified wood, well, this age-old tree being cut, that's my connection. And that ARI-STAR-CHUS is so prevalent, and know, um, what do you say? Well, I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what more to say about that. It's like there's a picture presented, and you paint the picture or you don't. And that's the picture I painted anyway. And I'm not about convincing anybody of anything anymore. All I would ever want to convince anybody listening to this of is that, well, everything in life is, it's how would you put it? It's a challenge for you. It's a sort of path towards greater growth and realization. What that realization entails, well, the greater being, the greater us, which I think is wondrous, ultimately beyond measure. We can all see it sometime or other, but we don't hone in on it and we don't sort of appreciate it or realize it. None of us do. But I think ultimately this is what our experience here is about. It's forgetfulness to remember. And when we do remember, I think we'll see, well, the wonder in all things. For miracles beyond measure, I'm absolutely certain of that. The whole of the scientific way, it's all been made a farce of now. It's all been made an absolute farce of. And if you're not clued in, shake yourself. Shake yourself, because they're letting you know. They want you to know. Look at all the NASA fakery. Look at all the nonsense that's going on with SpaceX and what's the latest? Richard Branson and his Virgin. So you have SpaceX and Virgin. Once again, getting back to this this generation theme. And I guess once again, yeah, it has to be our story that's being told. You don't separate yourself from it. If you do, well, you're bound for misery and despair. I should think. And the reason why science in all its certitude is given to us in the format it's given is for the purposes of contrast. At least that's how I viewed it in my own life. I was the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest, but I was a keen follower of all things science, not to any major degree, passing degree, I guess, but I definitely took an interest in it. And I wanted to figure out the nature of my reality. Have I figured it out now? Come on, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I live in my own head. I live in my own head. But that there's a greater yarn spun for certain. For certain, there has to be. There's no way around it. I guess each individual contributes, and I guess we're given the ability as well to have this mass communication. The world is a much smaller place. The earth is a much smaller place now than it was 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. The one thing about Corona was that no one was truly alone. Pretty much every place on earth now has internet. So if there were older people or family members alone, there was always this contact made available. So, yeah, all purposefully done as well. We have to, I think the biggest issue is coming to, well, accept that everything we thought to be true is not. Coming to, be disappointed or let down by your heroes, those you trusted in. But it's just part of it. It's coming to terms with yourself, coming to terms with well, you're a greater being, and no one can account for that, only you yourself. We're on our own in this one well, we have been to a greater lesser degree up to this point, but all changes with Corona, right? I sang my Corona as a hope song today. I won't sing it now. I'm not going to stay on too much longer now because it's sweating as well. And yeah, I sang my Corona as a hope song today, and I think it's pretty impactful. I think I like just singing away today on a quiet Sunday. I think it's pretty impactful because you have people walking by with masks. Unbelievable. It's like sweltering here, 28 degrees. Just standing here has me in buckets of sweat, and I'm in the shade. But people around with masks, and I mentioned Noel before, who is a transgender, who's around them. I don't know them too well. I'm sure they think I'm taking the piss or something because I stopped them one day and said, "Yeah, how you doing?" Yeah, when I asked about Theresa May. Do you reckon Theresa May is a transgender? I was absolutely positive she is, or she was. Mark Thatcher plays the role. Where's Theresa May now, right? But Mark Thatcher plays the role. Yeah, I thought that a transgender would sort of have a keener eye, but never considered Noel or Noel. What's her name? He was born, always felt like a woman, and at some point then made that transition. He didn't go too far. He has long blonde hair, but it's a man. It's a man in I was going to say in a dress. When I met him today, he was a man in a pair of trainers, a pair of big white trainers, and a pair of black leather pants. It's sweltering in there, tight leather pants as well, and sort of a clingy top as well. And he was wearing a sort of a skimpy bra. But I'm, just seeing stuff. I'm not judging or anything. But I asked, as he was passing by, she was passing by, I said, geez, you must be hot in that, or you must be roasting in that. Sorry, I said, you must be sweltering in that. And she said, I'm hot, all right. So I said, I bet you are. But yeah, it was a sweltering day. But and that, actually, I think Noel had a mask as well. So, I mean, fucking hell. But my Corona is a hoax song. Yeah, you can't help but hear it. And the lyrics themselves are pretty biting, I should think. Yeah, they are pretty biting because what do you do? And this is why you put on a mask as you're walking down the street because who tells you? The shops tell you, the cops tell you, the government tells you to take control, right? Yeah. All right. I think that's my hour up anyway. Definitely my half hour up. Actually, I can just look. It's an hour and a half, so it just shows you, doesn't it? It just shows you. Imagine being out in the pub with me. Although, if you were out in the pub with me, you get me to focus on a particular area, and that would be okay. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I sang a couple of songs at the start, 3 songs at the start, so I'll be on soon enough again. It's all quiet anyway, and I hope all is quiet wherever you are. Let me just say, so I'm all out of dates and everything, but because the moon landings are sort of so significant, we have the 52-year anniversary coming up on the 20th. Yeah, 19 days after that is the 8th of August, which is the 8/8/2021. So that could be potentially significant. And I don't pay any attention to any mainstream news, newspapers, any of the alternative media, really. I don't pay any attention. I listen to a scant few shows, and I'm happy enough that way as well. What's going to happen is going to happen. But in terms of a date, the 8th of August, yeah. So who knows what will. I'll maybe try to expand upon that the next time as to why exactly 19 is significant and 8/8 is significant, and one is connected with the other as well. But yeah, until then, listen, friends, thank you for tuning in, and until the next time, you take care and love to all. Okay, I love you, Steve.